Hello, my name is Lindsay Ginsberg, and I'm the Muhlenberg County Schools District Intervention Coach. And today I'm going to be sharing with you some information about the MAP test that our district gives 3 times a year. This is going to serve as maybe a refresher for some of you who have given it several times. And hopefully you're going to learn some new content. And if you're just starting to give the MAP test, this is certainly a presentation that will be helpful for you in learning what it's all about and what we use it for in our schools. So to begin, when we talk about the MAP test, you'll see the NWEA and you'll see MAP. Those are 2 acronyms that you need to know. So NWEA stands for the Northwest Evaluation Association, and they use anonymous assessment data from over 10.2 million students to create national norms. And then educators like us can compare our students' performance against those national norms to evaluate our instruction, our programs, and to help with our individual classrooms and our school system. And MAP stands for the Measures of Academic Progress. And MAP is an online assessment that is aligned to Common Core standards. So there are many different assessments that MAP offers, but what our district uses is the MAP Growth Assessment. So I'll talk to you about what that means. So the MAP Growth Assessment is a computerized test, and it is an adaptive test. And it's offered in reading, language, science, and mathematics. So what it means by being adaptive is that when a student is taking a MAP test, the difficulty of each question is based on how well a student answers the previous questions. So as the students are answering correctly, questions are going to become more difficult. If the student is answering incorrectly, then the questions become easier. And in an optimal test, the student will answer approximately half the items correctly and half of them incorrectly. And the final score is an estimate of the student's achievement level. So if you look down at the bottom, there's a note, and this is really important to let our students know that this is not a test of mastery. It is a test to determine a student's achievement level. So, students, a lot of times, especially our high-achieving students, it's going to be a frustrating test because they are used to studying for a test and, doing well. And on this test, they're going to get a lot of questions that they're not going to know. And that can be frustrating and make them feel like they're not doing very well. But that is just the nature of this test. And also, even for our low-achieving learners, they may get a lot of questions they don't know, and they may be inclined to give up. And so we just have to, really let our students know, listen, this is not a test of mastery. We don't expect you to know all of these questions. However, we do expect you to try your best and understand the reason this test is given and how it actually works in that way. So just a few quick facts about the MAP test. In Muhlenberg County, all students in kindergarten through 8th grade take both the reading and the math MAP test 3 times a year in the fall, winter, and spring. Intermediate grades also take the language usage and science MAP test. And the fall testing window falls in the months of August and September. The winter testing window, November, December. And the spring testing window is March and April. There are a few kindergarten classrooms that wait and take the test in the winter. And that's a school decision. Also, our 9th grade students have begun taking the test this year, mostly to help us with interventions and to identify students who are below grade level and need that assistance. So the entire 9th grade takes it in the fall, and we use that information to determine students in need for intervention. And then we also the entire ninth grade takes it again in the spring. And next year we'll probably start testing our sophomores as well. And just know that the MAP test is the universal screener for interventions. So we do use the information to help us make decisions about students who are below grade level and may need to be moved into interventions for either reading or math. It's not an end-all be-all, but it's definitely a big key part of our decisions in the intervention process. So if you're used to looking at MAP scores, a lot of times you're going to hear another acronym called RIT. And RIT stands for the Roche Unit Scale. And this is the scale that is used with MAP that helps us measure and compare growth. So it's pretty much like, how do we get those numbers? The numbers are on a RIT scale. So when a student receives his or her score, then they, they will get a RIT score. So what does that RIT score mean? Well, it represents the level where a student is ready to learn, also known as the zone of proximal development. And the test finds that level by pinpointing where a student would just as likely answer incorrectly as correctly. The point between knowing and not knowing answer, so a 50-50. And specifically, the scale measures levels in academic difficulty. So the RIT scale extends equally across all grades, making it possible to compare a student's score at various points throughout his or her education. So if you're thinking that zone of proximal development, and if you're like me, it's been a long time since you've been in your bachelor's program, but that is something that we learned. The zone of proximal development is, if you look over at the graphic on the right, it is the sweet spot for students. It's not the things that they cannot do at all or the things that they can do independently, but it's the things that the learner can do with help. So it's measuring right where that student is, where they are ready to learn. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have normative data that we use to compare our students and how they're doing based on national norms that NWEA offers. So this chart shows you the 2015 reading and math student status norms. And by the way, new norms are coming out in July 2020. So all those numbers that we've become so familiar with are going to be changing here pretty soon. But this is the current data that we use. So if you'll look, let's just look at kindergarten reading. And the mean is 141. So that means that the grade level mean for kindergarten in the fall is a 141. And if you'll look right beside that, you'll see SD. And SD stands for standard deviation. And so what that means, and it's a real simple way to think of it, is if you took 141 and you added 13, then you would get 154. And if you took 141 and you subtracted 13, you would get 127. And so from 127 to 154, that range right there, that is where 68% of your students are going to score. So that gives you an idea of, kind of what the average range is of your kindergarten learners. So it is helpful, I think, to be able to look, and when you have students who are well below or well above, that's an easy way to identify your learners who are, below grade level or above grade level. And I know these a lot are decimals, and you don't get a decimal number, however, when a child gets a RIT score. So you would either round up or round down based on the decimal, and I know I didn't do that when I should have rounded up to 14, I guess, on my standard deviation. But like I said, you can either round up or just just round it off, really, and that's how you can determine what your grade level, where your students should be scoring. Also down here, I have a link, and this is kind of messy right here. I don't know why. Oh, let me go back. And this is for if you are looking, if you're a high school teacher and you are wanting to know, well, how does this help me, know how my students are going to do on the ACTs. So if you look, it does give you some scores here. This is a really neat document. And it shows you how students will do on their ACT, if you look right here, based on their MAP score. So that's a pretty neat document that I think our high school teachers could find useful. And it does do science and language arts too. Let me see if I can get back to my screen here where I was. Okay. All right, moving on. So I hear a lot of students and teachers sometimes will say, if a student scores a certain number of 160 in kindergarten in the fall, they may say, wow, they're on a 4th grade level already. And sometimes that's really not true. So what I want to do is try to explain to you what RIT scores mean, and doing that through a baseball analogy. So if we look at these two baseball players here, at the top we have Jose Siri, and he plays for the Dayton Dragons. He's 22 years old. His batting average is a .295. So he gets on base practically 3 out of every 10 at-bats during games. And down at the bottom, we have Scooter Jennett, plays for Lebanon City Schools. And, I'm sorry, he is an alumnus to Lebanon City Schools. If you'll look at his hat, he plays for the Cincinnati Reds. He's 27 years old, and his batting average is also .295. And he also gets on base practically 3 out of every 10 times at bat, just like Jose does. So, both these guys have a .295. Are Jose's and Scooter's batting averages the same? I'm going to give you just a little bit of time to think about that. Okay. So, are they the same? Well, of course they are. They're both .295. However, if you're thinking outside the box, you're thinking, you know what? Jose plays on a minor league team, and Scooter plays on a major league team. So how could we possibly compare those two? Because they are playing in different leagues and different difficulty. So the averages give us the same information relative to other players in each league and relative to the levels of competition in each league. So then when you start thinking about that, would Jose's average be the same? Now remember, Jose plays in minor league. If he were to be accelerated to the major leagues, would he keep that same .295 batting average? I want you to think about that. Okay, so, let me go back. So you're probably thinking, well, no, most likely not. Jose's batting average would most likely go down because he would not be able to perform the same in a major league as he does in the minor league, because obviously the major league is more difficult. So now let's take this to students. Let's look at these two students. Now they're brother and sister. And Ryan is in 2nd grade, and he scored a 214 this fall on his reading 2 through 5 MAP test. And that score places him at the 99th percentile. So Ryan did a great job. Now let's look down at Ryan's sister, Audrey. Now she's in 6th grade. She also scored a 214 this fall on her reading MAP test, but she took the 6+ MAP test. So that score places her at the 59th percentile, and she did a great job as well. So imagine, these are your kids. They're both coming home telling you that they both made a 214 on their reading test, and you think, how in the world is that? Are they the same? So I want you to think about this. Are the two 14s the same score?